There is a fungus, right now, in the forests of Thailand and Brazil, that finds a carpenter ant, infects it, and then, with no brain of its own, no nervous system, no neurons of any kind, it makes that ant climb to a specific height above the forest floor, clamp its jaws onto a specific vein on a specific type of leaf, and die. At the same time of day, every time. And it has been doing this for at least 48 million years. The organism is Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, a parasitic fungus that has co-evolved with carpenter ants across tens of millions of years to become what is arguably the most sophisticated behavior manipulation system ever documented in nature. What makes it scientifically extraordinary isn't just that it controls behavior, it's how. The fungus doesn't infect the ant's brain. Brain tissue in infected ants is left almost entirely intact. Instead, the fungal cells infiltrate the muscles, particularly the jaw muscles and the muscles controlling locomotion, and appear to manipulate the ant's body mechanically, bypassing the nervous system almost entirely. This is not what anyone expected, and it raises profound questions about the relationship between brain, body, and behavior that neuroscientists are still working through. Let's start with what we know. Ophiocordyceps unilateralis spores land on a carpenter ant and penetrate the exoskeleton. Over the following days, fungal cells proliferate throughout the ant's body cavity, a process called zombie making by the researchers who study it, though the technical term is behavioral manipulation. The infected ant begins behaving erratically. It loses coordination, wanders from the colony's normal pathways, and eventually, in what researchers call the death grip, it climbs vegetation to a very specific height, typically 25 centimeters above the forest floor, and bites down hard on a leaf vein at the abaxial surface. The jaw muscles then lock in a tetanic contraction. The ant dies. And several days later, a fruiting body erupts from the back of the ant's head and releases a new generation of spores downward onto the trails below. The precision is staggering. Studies by David Hughes at Penn State documented that infected ants in Thai forests consistently died within a 2-square-meter zone. A graveyard of manipulated ants all dying in the same spot. The height, the leaf type, the time of death, all optimized for maximum spore dispersal into the ant traffic below. Here's where it gets philosophically interesting. In 2017, a team led by Carissa de Becker published research showing that the fungus produces a cocktail of compounds that interfere with neurotransmitter signaling, particularly biogenic amines like serotonin and dopamine, without entering the brain itself. The fungal cells appear to wrap around muscle fibers and secrete compounds that cause those muscles to contract and relax independently of neural commands. The ant's brain is watching its own body be hijacked and is apparently unable to override it. Some researchers have described this as a kind of peripheral takeover. The body mutinied from the outside, while the central nervous system remained functional but disconnected from motor control. The fossil evidence makes this even more remarkable. A 2010 paper in Biology Letters described a fossilized leaf from the Messel oil shale deposit in Germany, 48 million years old, with a bite mark indistinguishable from modern Ophiocordyceps death grips. The behavior has been conserved with extraordinary fidelity across 48 million years of evolution. Whatever the fungus is doing works so well that natural selection has not changed it in any meaningful way since the Eocene. The zombie ant fungus has become a model system for understanding behavioral manipulation, not just in insects, but as a general biological phenomenon. There are dozens of parasites that modify host behavior. Toxoplasma gondii makes infected rodents attracted to cat urine. The jewel wasp stings cockroaches into docile compliance and lays eggs inside them. The hairworm drives crickets to drown themselves. But Ophiocordyceps is unique in the precision and the mechanism, and it's forcing neuroscientists to ask a question they're not entirely comfortable with. How much of what we call voluntary behavior is actually controlled at the level of the brain versus being susceptible to chemical interference at the muscle or peripheral nervous system level? There are human pathogens, toxoplasma among them, that subtly alter behavior in infected humans. Infected individuals show statistically higher risk-taking, reduced reaction times, and in some studies altered personality profiles. The mechanism is not fully understood, but the zombie ant fungus provides a proof of concept that behavior can be hijacked without touching the brain. Here's the thought that stays with me. The ant's brain, as far as we can tell, is intact throughout. It processes sensory information, it generates signals, and yet something outside it with no nervous system of its own overrides every behavioral output the brain produces. We tend to think of consciousness and agency as residing in the brain. The brain decides, the body acts. The zombie ant fungus suggests that this relationship is far more fragile, far more hackable than we instinctively believe. You are, right now, the product of trillions of microbial cells, chemical signals, and environmental inputs, many of which influence your behavior in ways you don't consciously direct. The fungus just makes that visible, something worth stopping and thinking about. New video every week. Subscribe if this kind of thing keeps you up at night.